came down. I said, what? I said, what? He goes, yeah. I said, what, yeah? He goes, yeah, but she gave Shahada. Alhamdulillah. This is the greatest miracle of my life. Alhamdulillah. The greatest miracle of my life. And my family's really mixed, by the way. So my sister, may Allah guide her, she's not Muslim. Although the whole Gaza thing has really started to turn her heart, and we ask Allah to turn her heart, inshallah. And I know there's iman in her heart, alhamdulillah. May Allah guide her. Ameen. My big brother, he's not Muslim. He considers himself an atheist. My father-in-law is Jewish, and he's actually Zionist Jew. So that's a whole another conversation. Wow. We have to manage that relationship. And we manage the relationship, alhamdulillah. My mother was vehemently against religion. Vocally, passionately against religion. Okay. So not even neutral on the subject. She thought it was hypocrisy. She thought it was falsehood. She thought it was brainwashing. To the extent that when I started to practice, it was a big fitna in our life. It affected our relationship for quite a few years. Because my wife, who I knew before my days of practicing, didn't wear hijab, and then she started wearing hijab. My mum thought that was stupid. My mum thought I was stupid. Growing a beard was stupid. Praying was stupid. Even she used to get annoyed sometimes when she'd hear us giving salams. She'd be annoyed by it. And if I was praying in a room and I'd hear the door open behind me, I knew the response. It was going to be, oh God, it would be like that. Okay. So the thought of, and there's a couple of lessons here really. The thought of my mother accepting Islam was like impossible. But like any son, I used to make dua. Ya Allah, guide my mother. Ya Allah, guide my mother. Guide my mother to Al-Islam. And as the years went by, maybe it was 10 years, maybe it was 15 years, I don't know. I realized, not consciously, I'd stopped making that dua. Because it was impossible. She wasn't any closer. She was further away, if anything. So I'd stopped making the dua. As I said, not consciously, just when you don't feel your dua is being answered, eventually you kind of give up, which is a weakness of our iman. And I think my memory is I was in Masjid al-Quba. I was on Umrah anyway. And I just had this realization. It just came over me. Allah can do anything. Just because I think it's impossible for my mother to accept Islam, which I did, it's not impossible for Allah. So I should resume, and I resumed with a new intensity and with a new level of certainty that Allah could do whatever He wanted. Anyway, my mother got ill. She got cancer. She recovered from the cancer. Then she got ill again. And it was just qadr Allah that I was the one who was in hospital visiting her. Just happened to go and visit her. There was nobody else there. At the moment she was told that she was going to die, it was just me and her sitting there. And the doctor came, and my mum was a nurse. So she was always very straightforward. She was like, tell me, doctor, straight. And he said, it's not good like that. And she was healthy. It was like a ton of bricks landing on us. She was healthy at that time. She just had some minor issues. There was no talk of the cancer coming back. There was no talk of her being ill. She was walking and driving and shopping and acting normally, right? And he said, it's not good news. And she said straight, she said, how long? How long have I got? And my sister was pregnant at the time, and this was in July, and the baby was due in December. So we're talking about 5 months, 6 months. She said, will I see my grandson? And he goes, I don't think so. Said, and I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there, what do you mean? She's healthy. He said, I think we're talking weeks rather than months. It's like, what are you talking about? Anyway, so I'm sitting there. He moved away. Just me and my mum sitting there. He's just told her she's going to die in a matter of weeks. What do you say? She doesn't believe in Allah. She doesn't believe in the Day of Judgment. She doesn't believe in Qadr. She doesn't believe in tests. She doesn't believe in the Akhirah. She doesn't believe in anything. What am I going to say? Have sabr? Oh, it could be. I was just lost. I didn't have anything to say. And then, alhamdulillah, Allah inspired me. And I couldn't use words like hadith or the Prophet. I couldn't use that with my mum. She wouldn't listen. I said, look, we have a narration. I said, a story. I said, we have a story. I said, it speaks about a person who was traveling, and they sat down underneath a tree to rest. And when they rested, they got up and they left and they carried on their journey. I said, that story tells us that this life is just that moment of rest, and that we're just moving on to another part of our journey. And I thought she was going to say, don't give me your nonsense, right? And she goes, oh, I like that. She goes, I quite like that. So we came home and she started telling, and the news had gone around the family. Everyone was calling Auntie Moira's going to die. And she was a very popular person in our family, mashallah. And she just kept saying, no, don't worry. I'm on a journey. Rahim told me there's a journey and I'm just going to move on to the next. And she looked very peaceful with this idea. Then my cousin, the same cousin I mentioned earlier who'd become religious, he had a sign off on his emails. And he was very close. He grew up in our house. So he was very close to my mum. And the sign off on his emails was from George Bernard Shaw. And if anyone doesn't know, George Bernard Shaw spoke amazing words about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So much so you'd think he was Muslim, about him being the savior of humanity. And it had this, and my mum called me. She said, Dad, did you? And George Bernard Shaw was Irish. My mum was Irish. She said, did you see this? What George Bernard Shaw said about the Prophet Muhammad? I said, yeah, I know. She said, now everyone's visiting her. She's saying, I'm just on a jet. And did you see? She said, did you see what the... And I'm thinking, this is weird, man. I'm not expecting my mum. Anyway, so something had changed in her heart already. But the key moment was this. She called me and she said, look, I need to have a difficult conversation with you. And now we're probably a week, 10 days, something like that away from her death. And we didn't know exactly when it was going to be, but we knew she was ill.
Yeah.
She said, I've told your brother and sister, I want to be cremated and I want you to respect my wishes. And I said, okay. I said, that's your wish. That's what you're going to do. I said, that's what you want done. And I knew, and she said, look, I've asked them to take care. She said, I know that's going to be difficult for you. She said, but I do want you to respect my wishes. And I said, okay, what can I do? But I knew my mum. And I said to her, can we just talk through this? She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, look, if you're cremated, no problem. I said, how's it going to happen? Let's just think of it logically. What's going to happen strategically? I said, if you die here at home, and we hope you'll die at home, surrounded by your family, Allah knows. I said, some undertakers are going to come and take your body away. I said, who are they? She looked at me. I said, just some strange men. I said, they're going to carry you out. I said, then they're going to undress you. I said, then they're going to pump you full of chemicals to preserve your body. She knows, she's a nurse. She knew about you have to be preserved or else you... I said, then they're going to leave you in a storage facility for like 2 weeks. Then they're going to dress you. And my mum was very modest. She never used to wear makeup. I said, they're going to put makeup on your face. They're going to put you in a dress. This is what happens when you cremate. And then I said, they'll bring you into the church or into the place. I said, who are these people? And she said, what's the alternative? And I said, your sons. I said, your sons will carry you. Hold on just one sec. I said, your sons will carry you out. I said, and I couldn't say mosque. I said, and we'll take you to a local center. I said, your dignity and your modesty will be preserved at all times. And I said, your daughters will wash you. I said, your daughters will wash you and they will prepare you. I said, and nobody will see you apart from your loved ones. I said, and you'll be wrapped in a simple white cloth and you'll be buried on the same day. And she goes, that's what I want. She goes, that's what I want. And she phoned my brother and sister. And to their credit, she phoned them and she said, I've been speaking with Rahim and I've decided I want a Muslim burial. Right? I cannot imagine how shocked they must have been because everyone knows my mum. She was miles away, right, from Islam. To their credit, they were like, no problem. As I said, no problem. That's what you want. That's what you want. No problem. We had a very pluralistic way of our family, being so mixed. We all accept each other's ways. They said, no problem if that's what you want. Now my problem is she's not Muslim. Okay. So she's, mashallah, she's agreed to a Muslim funeral, which I'm really happy about, but she's not Muslim. How can I go to the imam and say, can we do janazah please for my mum and bury her in the Muslim graveyard and do the ghusl, and she's not Muslim.
Yeah.
So now I've got, I don't know how many days, and there's people coming to visit and there's people leaving, and I needed to have this conversation with my mum. You want a Muslim burial, but you're not Muslim. Okay? So I was in and out, and every time guests would leave, I would but then she would be either unconscious or she'd wake up, and it was the whole, every day felt like, oh my God, am I going to get a chance to talk to her? And I got a chance to talk to her, and because she was a nurse, I said to her one day, I said, look, have you ever looked at the body, the human body, how miraculous, because she was always going on about how miraculous the human, I said, is it possible, and I'm hoping she's not going to say no. I said, is it possible that there was a designer, that somebody created us, that it didn't just happen by chance? And can you imagine, I'm waiting to think, if she says, no, of course not, it's just, she went, yeah. She goes, I could accept that. I left it there. I'm thinking, okay, in a way, she's accepted that there's a creator.
Yeah.
Then a day went, 2 days, I don't know how long. I went back and I said, you know, we were talking about God, that there could be a creator. I said, do you think it's possible that he may have sent righteous people to give us guidance, you know, like Jesus and like Muhammad and like that, right? Again, I'm hoping she's not going to say, don't give me your nonsense. She went, yeah, I do. I do believe that now. Now, for me, I was thinking that's enough. If I ask her to give Shahada and she says no, I'm snookered, right? Okay, I'm checkmated, okay? At least now I can say, yeah, alhamdulillah, she said she believes in God, she said she believes in the Prophet, Bismillah, Allah can judge her, right? I went downstairs, I told my wife, yeah? And my wife said, oh, it's amazing. And my son Harris was there. And he said, it's not enough. I said, what do you mean? He goes, she has to give her Shahada. I said, no. I said, if you got... He goes, God. And he had a very close relationship with my mum. He was the eldest grandchild. And he went upstairs. He must have been up there. I don't know how long he was up there. To me, it felt like all day. But I think he was up there for maybe an hour, part of an hour. Man, I was walking around and I was pulling my... And I was sweating and I didn't know he's going to come down and say, no, Abba, she won't. Because then now I know for sure. He came down. I said, what? I said, what? He goes, yeah. I said, what, yeah? He goes, yeah, but she gave Shahada. Alhamdulillah. Now, there were people, I'm just going to finish on this, and I want this on the public record. There were people who I love dearly who felt that she'd said this to appease my son because she had a really close relationship with him. He knew she was dying. She said this to appease my son. Before she passed away, alhamdulillah, a couple of things happened which showed what was in her heart. She was unconscious. Her doctor came to the house. He woke her up. How are you? She looked up at him and she said, what's your name? And he said, I'm Dr. Muhammad. And she said, why aren't you giving me salams? That's what she said to him. Why aren't you giving me salams? She said, Salamu alaikum, to him like that, right? And she never used to say that, right? Then my sister-in-law, who was also concerned that she'd only said it, because my sister-in-law's Muslim, alhamdulillah, was concerned, was taking my mum to the bathroom. And my mum, she could just about walk, her eyes were closed, and she was using my sister-in-law to lean on it. And my sister-in-law said to her, he said, Mummy, we used to call her Mummy, he said, Mummy, you know that thing you said with Al-Harith? You know, you said, you know, those words, those Arabic words, and you said that you believe. Did you just say that, you know, because it's Harris? And she said, she stopped, she opened her eyes, she said, I'm seeing things clearly now. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So that is the greatest miracle of my life. Alhamdulillah. And you know, don't give up du'as, people. No matter what it is, no matter how impossible it seems, no matter how far away or unlikely or unimaginable, nothing is impossible for Allah. Nothing is impossible for Allah. So never give up making du'a.